Hi guys. Okay, we're trying to do Vlogmas, so we're doing 3 videos a week until Christmas time. And so I figured today I'll talk to you guys about some veterans law benefits and a little tip about how to get total disability based on unemployability, TDIU as some may call it. And I want to tell you about some workarounds you can do if you don't meet the requirements, the rating requirements, how you can possibly do a backdoor way to possibly still meeting the rating requirements. All right, let's talk about it. Okay, if you're new to the channel, I'm an attorney, but I'm not your attorney, so this is a disclaimer. I'm here to give you some tips that are for informational purposes only. I'll leave in the description box some tools to veterans law benefits, VSOs, veteran service organizations, or veterans lawyers that can represent you. So just to keep that in mind, I have a whole playlist about veterans benefits, so check that out if you may have other questions about other veterans law questions. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about veterans benefits as related to TDIU, and particularly how you can meet the requirements for TDIU if you think on the surface that you don't meet the requirements. So TDIU is based off of saying that I'm unable to work due to my service-connected benefits disabilities, and that's why I should receive basically a total disability rating, which comes with a whole plethora of other options, but basically it's one of the higher benefits that veterans seek because it basically overarches everything like 100%. It's based in the, I usually, if you haven't watched my channel, I have my handy dandy code book that tells us all the codes that veterans law benefits is rated by. So the TDIU is rated under 38 CFR 4.16. Total disability ratings for compensation based on unemployability of the individual. And what I'm going to talk to you today briefly is about 4.16A, which talks about what you're required to have as far as your disabilities ratings in order to qualify for TDIU. So if you have one disability and you want to be considered for TDIU, that disability has to be rated at 60% or more. If you have one disability, right? If you have more than one disability, then they have to be rated at 70% combined with at least one disability rated at 40% disabling, right? So these are the requirements. And so sometimes on the face, some veterans may not qualify for TDIU because they don't meet those requirements. Most of the time, veterans have more than one disability, but let's say they don't, and they don't meet the requirements. What usually can happen is the regional office, the RO, can refer it to the Director of Compensation for extraschedular consideration. Meaning like, okay, we understand you don't meet the requirements in the code, but based off of evidence, whether it be lay or medical evidence, you cannot maintain a full-time position based on your service-connected disabilities, despite the fact that they're not rated what it requires in the code, right? So it takes a different route. And then the Director of Compensation either puts out a memo and says, okay, yes, even though he or she doesn't meet the rating code requirements, this person cannot work and we should still give him TDIU, him or her TDIU. That's a pretty more lengthy process to go that route versus, let's say you get denied for TDIU because you didn't meet the requirements and you want them to consider you, but you don't want extra schedulers consideration. You want them to consider you based on the code. I'm going to tell you what you can put in your argument. So you can put this in your NOD, your Notice of Disagreement, or your VA 9 Substantive Appeal Form. You can put this in there so that the RO, perhaps they overlooked it, can say, okay, let's look back at the what the veteran's disabilities are and see if they meet it based on scheduler. And then you could possibly get it granted right then, right? So if you, when they're saying you have to have 70% or more combined for multiple disabilities and have at least one disability rated at 40% disabling, there's a section that says, for the above purposes of one 60% disability or one 40% disability in combination, the following will be considered as one disability, right? So that whole requirement of having, you need to have at least one rated at 40% or one rated at 60%. These are some of the requirements that you can consider. So let's say the disabilities of one or both upper extremities or one or both lower extremities, including the bilateral factor. So let's say it doesn't add up right now to the 40, you don't have anyone rated at 40%. I'm talking about if you have multiple disabilities. But you have disabilities of one or both upper extremities or lower extremities, your legs, your feet, things of that nature, your toes, and those combine to add up to 40%. Then that meets the requirements for that disability, having one disability rated at 40%. That's section 1. Section 2 says disabilities resulting from common etiology or a single accident. So let's say you have all these multiple disabilities, but none of them are rated at 40%. Let's say the highest one is 20%. But let's say you got into an accident while you were in service, right? And you got knocked over, let's say in a Humvee, and you had a disability that involves your foot, your arm, your head, right? This all happened in the same incident. What you can do is say that those combine to meet the requirements for the 40% for the sake of having a schedular rating under TDIU, right? So you have to say these all happen at the same incident. Sometimes that doesn't happen for veterans, but let's say that happened, then that could possibly help you meet that requirement and you don't have to have it referred for extra schedular consideration. That's number 2. The third is disabilities affecting a single body system. Example, orthopedic, digestive, respiratory, cardiovascular, neuropsychiatric, right? So I dealt with this recently where somebody, they didn't meet they had 70% combined, but they didn't have one disability rated at 40%. I realized that the veteran had several orthopedic disabilities. So what I did is organize all the orthopedic disabilities, and I said, okay, when I combined the rating on the combined rating table, I didn't add them up. Go to my other videos that tell you about how to use the combined rating table. When I did the combined rating table with just the orthopedic disabilities, that combined to get my 40% disability that I needed for the person to meet the 70% combined rating with at least one 40% disability. So that's an example. So I combined all the orthopedic, the legs, the feet, the arms, anything dealing with orthopedic, I combined them and I got to the 40% that I needed for the requirement. So that's number 3. Number 4 is multiple injuries incurred in action, which is similar to the things that happen in a single accident. And then the 5th is multiple disabilities incurred as a prisoner of war. So this is similar to this happened during a certain period of time. They're all related. So VA looks to them as one disability. So when you combine them, you can get if you get the 40%, then you have that requirement for combined disabilities that are 70% disabling combined with at least one 40%. So this is a tip for those of you who say, okay, I don't meet the requirements. This is kind of a backdoor. Some people don't always realize that, okay, I don't need to refer to it for extra schedular consideration because I meet it based on the schedular rating. The schedular rating is 38 CFR 4.16A. And then the factors that I was talking about are listed as 1 through 5. So I just want to give you a tip about that. Hopefully it helps. Let me know in the comment section if you guys have been dealing with TDIU and you didn't think about this before, but now this may help you. Hopefully we give you good tips to help you get your claim successfully granted in the future. So hopefully, and we'll see you in the next video, okay?